read. Any.
Morning, Mr. Hernandez.
Good morning, ladies.
How are you?
I'm doing pretty good today.
All right, you ready for your hearing?
Yes.
Great. You all set?
You read this letter. You read this letter. Okay, so we're not gonna hear.
Oh, he might
We're gonna do it again.
be reading that.
Yeah, we're not gonna.
Okay.
We're gonna move on from. Yeah.
Morning, my name is Parole Officer Megalizzi. Today is Wednesday, March 12th, 2025, and this is a hearing of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Paroles. The following board members are present this morning and by stating their names on the record, certify that they have reviewed all statutorily required documents and available pertinent information in preparation of this hearing.
Nancy Turner, good morning.
Deborah Smith Palmieri.
Good
Panel
morning.
member Barry, good morning.
Good morning.
Sir, please state your name and inmate number for the record.
My name is Robert Hernandez, inmate number 252259.
Thank you. This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Robert Hernandez, number 252259. He is serving a sentence of 8 years, execution suspended after 42 months and 5 years probation for sales and 2 counts of larceny second. As of today, records reflect a parole eligibility date of 9/13/25. There is no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows that the offender has completed tier 2 voices and he holds a facility job as a barber. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score falls within the high range risk for recidivism. Mr. Hernandez, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin, sir.
Mr. Hernandez,
Yes, ma'am.
we have a letter that you wrote to us that's 2 pages long. We've all received it and we've read it. So we don't need you to read it to us, but if there's something by way of a summary or other comments that you'd like to make, please go ahead.
If you have any questions, then I'll answer your questions. But if you read it, then this is basically a summary of what I've been doing and utilizing my time to. I've been trying to find myself. I've been trying to find myself, and it took me quite a while to do that. And I believe this time around, asking God before I even came to jail to help me. I guess this is what led me to here. And then while in here, I started seeing the clarity of what I was doing, the poor decision makers that I've been making out there in the world. And that was bad. That was real bad.
I
That's
agree fully. Okay. Well, we deeply appreciate that you took the time to write a letter to us because it did put in context your crime and explain to us what was going on with you at the time with your substance use. And, you know, you were very frank and forthcoming in the letter. So we appreciate that. We're going to ask questions of you, and I know you've been through this before. So tell me, You indicated in your letter, you have some trauma and some PTSD that you want to address. And I strongly encourage you to do that. Do you know where to find a therapist? How to go about that?
Yes, I do. I have a doctor, a primary doctor that I could go by him, and he's recommended me to look into some doctors that he knows.
Okay. All right. And you could also, if you have Husky D, you can also go to some of the community health centers, and they do dental, they do mental health, they do the whole range, especially because therapy through a private provider can get kind of expensive,
Yes,
depending on how much of your insurance they accept. So don't get discouraged in finding somebody to work with.
I might go back to the Liberation program because they had a therapist that was working with me there.
Okay, well, somebody you know already. That's a great start. Okay, all right, but it's time you get a handle on these issues that are, seem to be running your life, instead of you being in charge.
That's true. That's true.
That you're using substances as instead of, taking care of the history that's still, bothering you.
Under the course, yes.
And that doesn't work, right? I mean, you have a 23-year criminal history, and your first conviction in 1997 was drug related.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's true.
Yeah. So I just wanted a couple of facts to put out there. You have an 8-year sentence with only 3.5 to serve. So you still, when you finish your period of incarceration, or if you go out to discretionary parole to begin 5 years of probation, you still have 4.5 years of this sentence hanging over your head.
Yes.
You know how that works. So if you mess up on supervision, you can be brought back to serve that 4.5 years. Yes. And then you would go out in your 50s.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I understand that. And that's what I'm not trying to do.
Help me figure this out, because when you were interviewed by the parole officer, do you remember that Officer Micheliz, he met with you?
Yes.
Okay. And you were given an opportunity to talk about the offense. You were still denying that you were selling the drugs, but in your letter to us, you seem to be stepping up and taking responsibility. So can we trust that you admit now that you were selling drugs?
No, I admit to me selling drugs. That's not a problem. But what it was, the offense. See, if I get into it, y'all might think I might be lying or something like that. But the offense at that time,
what they caught you with was personal use.
The offense at that time was only personal use. I was not selling drugs. That's basically what it was.
In the moment that the police encountered you, you weren't selling, but you admit that was what you were doing out in the community.
Yes.
Okay. I'm not really sure that there's a lot of value in splitting hairs like that. I mean, if you're stepping up and you're taking responsibility, then you own the behaviors that you were doing in the community that were causing so much harm. So was the drug, were you just selling crack, or were you selling other things?
No, just that.
Okay.
I was selling that to supply my habit.
Right, but your drug of choice is PCP.
And opiates.
Okay, so that's just kind of curious. But I guess we see all kinds of things. In the Tier 2 program, did you learn anything, or maybe in a prior period of incarceration, because this is your 8th, did you learn anything about PCP specifically?
Yes. I learned that it was a hallucinogenic drug, and that the more you smoke it, the more it plays tricks on your mind. Like it'll give you like an illusion state of mind. And while I was on it, that's basically what it was doing. It was like I was like smoking it, thinking I could control it when I wasn't controlling it.
Well, that's the nature of addiction, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And that's, that's the denial part, that
Yes.
The reason I ask about PCP is when I see it, especially regular use, and here you are identifying it as your drug of choice, a lot of alarm bells go off for me because it is such a destructive drug. And by that, I mean, it permanently damages parts of your brain that your brain can never recover from. Do you understand how serious
yes.
that is?
Yes, it's serious, but now that I'm not on it, and now that I'm taking a real good look at my life, I know what that drug was doing to me, and I know that I can't go back to that drug. Yes,
Okay,
I might not recover, like you said. I might not recover.
That's why I'm
I
saying,
might not recover. But
that's why I want you to understand in a clear mind how dangerous it is to pick that substance up among all the available illegal drugs. And, part of it is that, the way I think about it is if you remember the old-fashioned ice cream scoop?
yes,
If you went in and you scooped out part of the brain and it was gone, and it's gone forever. And the hole that's there does not fill back in.
yes, that's right.
Okay. And what, as someone who's 46 in your midlife, you need to understand that we don't even know yet what it does as the brain ages in terms of some of the cognitive impairment and the diseases of memory loss. So I really hope you're done with that particular substance.
No,
You've let it do enough damage.
I got a journal. I got a journal, and I write down now. Every night I write down life circumstances that I've been through and what led me to this incarceration. And what I do is I wake up in the morning and read that so I can apply that and keep applying those tools that I've been learning not to go back to that, or anything that's going to trigger me to go to that, stay away from that.
So Mr. Hernandez, what did you like so much about the feeling under the influence of PCP? What was it that made that your drug of choice?
It took away a lot of my pain. I'm living with a lot of pain. Parents is gone. My grandparents is gone. My little sister just died 2 years ago of cancer. A lot of people, a lot of pain. That's what I'm dealing with right now.
Okay, so you need to do some grief work because loss is a part of life. The older we get, the more people we lose.
Yeah, it is. But when you got people that's close to you and now they're not there no more.
Oh, you're not the only one, Mr. Hernandez. But it's what you do with the feelings and how you honor the people who you've lost. That matters. Yeah. Everybody's walking around with their own stories and their own losses. So you got to figure out how to process it.
This is why I want to get a therapist so I could process it correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Something I never did in my life.
So you don't have a sponsor and you don't have a job offer, is that correct?
What you mean, out in the world?
Right.
No, I do. I could work at Stratford. I've been working there like on and off. If I'm not in jail, then I could go back to there and work there. It's Hartley and Parker, Stratford, Connecticut.
What's the name of the company?
Hartley and Parker.
And what do you do for them?
They there's a warehouse that distributes liquor around the whole state.
Yep. And have you been in touch with anybody there?
Nah, not lately, but like if I come home, all I gotta do is just call Joyce and she'll get me back in. From Hamilton Connection.
So you indicated that a high risk for you to fall back into your old ways is money problems.
Hmm.
But this is a job that you've had before and you've had money problems. So how are you going to get out ahead of the fallback plan of selling drugs when you have financial challenges?
What I'm trying to do now is just establish, like, this is why I don't want to go home to a sponsor. I want to go home to like a halfway house so I can establish my affairs and have them in order. Like, in a halfway house, I can save up money. I won't have to be struggling right from the beginning, from coming home. From there, I done did it before. Halfway house, I don't had a job. I done saved up a lot of money for an apartment. I started going to college and everything. But what happened was, I just deteriorated because of myself going back into the drug.
But why? Why? If you had a home and you had a job and you were in school, why?
I was still feeling like kind of emotionally distraught. It was still, I still had some pain in me, and I was trying to get rid of it again through that drug.
So that's why you went back to drugs and then you sold to be able to pay for your own.
To pay, yeah, because I started going downhill from there.
Do you have much of a support network, Mr. Hernandez?
I do, but I really don't use it. Like I thought my way was working, and it wasn't. When I should have been working the support group that I had. Like
were you avoiding your supports because you were using and you didn't want people knowing?
Knowing, because everything I did was behind closed doors. Like every time I smoked, it was behind closed doors. It wasn't out there for nobody to know. I'm telling you because I'm trying to be honest with myself now. That's what I'm doing now.
So who are your supports?
My supports, I got two brothers out in Waterbury. They doing good. They ain't never been down this road. They've been asking me to come up towards that way, so I can get myself right. My little sister, I got the Liberation Program. They've been asking me to come back over there, and I've been denying everybody.
Do you have any friends?
I do, but I don't call them my friends no more because look where I'm at now. They're not nowhere around. That's something I'm going to change. That's something I'm definitely going to change.
Well, couldn't they say the same thing about you? You used to be my friend, but then look at the path you've gone down. So I'm not gonna go have anything to do with that. You're selling drugs and now you're in prison.
Yeah, but some of them still smoke weed. Some of them still do this, drink liquor and all that. So that's going to be, I can't be around that no more.
Those are legal.
I still can't be around that.
Right. Okay. So you need to choose your friends carefully, is what I hear you saying. What is your relapse prevention plan now that you've completed tier 2?
Right now?
Or when you get out?
Or when I get out, well, it's gonna be Narcotics Anonymous. That's gonna be number one. Going to daily meetings. And I'm gonna find like a faith-based group, like somewhere like I'm gonna be going to church like at least 2-3 times out the week. So I could, you know what I'm saying? So I can stop hurting my soul. Cause it really hurts inside. I got a lot of hurt. I got a lot of hurt, and I'm trying to get rid of that.
Have you ever worked with a sponsor before in NA?
In NA, no. I went to groups, but I never got a sponsor.
Do you think you'll get a sponsor this time?
This time, yes, definitely.
What does a sponsor do for someone in NA? Why have a sponsor?
A sponsor is like a person that, let's say in the middle of the night, you have a thought about doing something. You could call up on him. He'll come through. He'll come to wherever you at, help you out of that thought, help you acknowledge what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Sounding board, right?
Sounding what?
Sounding board. Somebody for you to bounce ideas
Yes.
off of or share your thoughts, and they know when you're doing stinking thinking.
Thinking, yes. Help you clear
Mr.
that up.
Hernandez, it strikes me that you have a lot of shame about your addiction. Am I right about that?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Do you understand that addiction is a disease?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So if somebody had bone cancer, should they feel shame about having cancer?
No.
Okay.
This is why I'm looking for. This is why when I get, hopefully, if I do get out, I'll be looking for the right treatments out there.
Well, you're going to get out at some point, whether it's to discretionary parole or end of sentence. So, think positively and don't make anything contingent upon being granted, because that would be foolish. Okay.
No.
Right.
Regardless of the outcome of my fate right now, trust me, I'm not going to deteriorate for what I'm doing to becoming a better man. That's one thing I'm not going to do.
Well,
No matter
I
what it is.
appreciate your commitment to yourself. That's a good thing. But I think you might also need to work on some forgiveness, because you got into a cycle of substance abuse and addiction, recovery and relapse. It's part of the disease. It's not a moral failing on your part. And why I'm encouraging you about supports and a recovery plan is you don't have to do this alone. And in fact, it's a bad idea to try to do it alone, because you just explained to us how your addiction flourished because you hid it. And you kept everybody at distance because you didn't want them to know you were using. And that's where the shame comes in. That keeps you isolated, keeps you using. And they say the disease flourishes, it grows in denial. And you have to break through the denial to yourself, but also to those who love you out in the community, because they want the best for you. They don't want you to suffer. And you got to unpack what's behind it. And I hear that you're committed to doing that. That's a positive thing. I hope you'll find ways to forgive yourself.
Thank you.
One of the positive ways to get to a place of self-forgiveness is to give back. That big 12 step about making amends. It's not just to individuals, because you won't be able to track down everybody you sold drugs to and their family members and their communities that were harmed. But if you make some commitment, once you're stable on your feet and secure in your life with your housing and your job, look for ways to give back to make up for the harm of your 23 years of criminal activity. Have you ever done volunteer work in the past?
Yes, I did. This is why I want to, like I put on my letter, my primary goal is to go back to college and finish for my social degree for the DART program, which is drug alcohol rehabilitation counseling. That's one of my primary goals.
From those hurdles, like school's a big deal, and it costs money, and there are lots of things that can interfere with that, but you can still give back to your community in small and big ways. And I encourage you to think about how to do that. There are opportunities to volunteer all over the place. And, it'll give you a good feeling. It'll help you build back your self-esteem that seems to be quite damaged by the choices that you've made, the crimes that you've committed, the drugs that you've abused, the relationships you've damaged.
True.
So All right, well, Mr. Hernandez, thank you for talking with me. I wish you much success. Keep your focus on your recovery, you know, and
Definitely, I am.
panel member Barry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Mr. Hernandez, what was your longest clean time out in the community?
Clean time?
Yes.
Say, like 2.5 years.
And what were you doing in those 2.5 years that you were able to stay away from drugs?
I had a full-time job and I was going to school full-time.
Okay. And so do you remember what caused you to relapse?
Myself. I'm not even gonna blame nobody. Myself. It was myself.
So why do you think that you, after being clean that long, why do you think you relapsed? Like you said yourself.
Because
Go ahead.
because I was on probation at the time, and actually I went out on parole. I finished parole successfully. I started probation. About a year into probation, my probation officer just came out of the blue and asked me to do IOP, but I was giving them clean urines and everything. So I was asking them, why do IOP? I'm working full time. I'm going to school full time. I'm doing good. I'm giving you clean urines and everything. Why do I got to do IOP? He was like, because it's recommended. I was like, recommended from who? And that right there just started anger, and it just put a little anger into myself, like, you know, because now he wanted me to do IOP. You know what I'm saying?
Now,
I'm 3 hours out
I'm
the day,
going to give
3
you
days
a
out
reason
the
to put me in IOP. Okay. Yeah.
That basically up, and it led me to that. And from there, we just down.
Okay. So I'm glad that you're able to acknowledge that, and hopefully that will be another deterrent for you when you're out in the community, to recognize that people accusing you of using is a trigger. You know, I mean, I know that this is a lot, and there's a lot of information that we take into consideration when we are looking at a person's suitability for early release. And I understand that guilt is a primary factor in your using drugs and self-isolating and all the things that overall mental health piece that it sounds like you really do need to address. One of the things that I do want you to take into consideration, though, is the overall, not that your crimes not only impact you, that they impact our community as a whole. Like where you think that stealing a car is something so minor, you know what I mean? What do you think the impact is of stealing a car on the rest of the community?
I could have hurt somebody while taking it. I know I hurt the people that I took the car from, because now they can't get nowhere. They can't get to the job. They can't bring their kids to school if they have them.
Okay, so now in Bridgeport, it's one of the major cities in Connecticut. And so anyone who's paying for insurance in those neighborhoods, their insurance increases because why? Because the likelihood of their cars being stolen, you know, because that's a major city where it's a lot of crime, you know, it has that impact. That's more money that, you know, we have to pay as residents of Connecticut to make sure that our cars are protected. And not only that, and then it goes a step further with your selling drugs in the community to support your own habit. It's selfishness in essence, because you're selling to someone's mom, someone else's dad, you know, someone's, you know, loved one who is stealing money from them to support this habit that you're keeping going. You know what I mean? And it's really, really difficult to swallow that you're hurting so many other people just to get your needs met. You know, like, I'm not trying to add to the guilt. I'm trying to get you to see the bigger picture, that it's not just you that is impacted by this. Our prices increase when you steal from stores or take things. It's so much more that the harm that you're causing for everyone. So You know, and I can't for the life of me understand why people use the PCP. I just don't. How do you even get to that drug? Like,
I just tried it one time and like, it was just, I just kept going with it.
To the
It
races.
was like,
I just don't understand that. You know that's stuff that they put in dead people.
yes, trust
You
me, I
want to
know.
put it in your own body?
I don't want to put it there no more. Trust me, I'll tell you.
Right. All right.
Let me explain something too. I used to smoke that a lot. About 6 months before me being incarcerated, I slowed down like heavily. I'll tell you, I just smoke at least like 5 to 10 bags a day. But 6 months before I started coming in, I started smoking like 1 to 2 bags a day. You know what I mean? And then that's why, like I said, like I tell you, like 6 months before coming in, I was also asking God for clarity. Like I need to stop. I need help. I need help. I need help. And look what he did. You know what? All right, you need help. I'm gonna put you in here so you can find yourself first.
Mhm.
And this is why I take this time right now as a blessing. But now that I'm in here,
I hope that
said-
it is a blessing for you, because the path that you're going down, there's only going to be two choices. One is going to be incarceration for life in installments, or death.
Yeah.
That's the outcome every time. You can't think that you're going to return to the community and they're not going to keep a watchful eye on you, because your history is so extensive and it's repeated the same kind of things. So you're going to be your own worst enemy by thinking that you're going to be able to go out and do the same thing. So I really do hope that you have it this time, Mr. Hernandez, because you're not young. You're not old
No.
either, but you're not the 20-some-odd-year-old man that came into prison originally. You know, at some point, you're going to want to leave some sort of legacy, and being a crackhead, I'm sure, is not the legacy you want to leave.
No, definitely not.
Thank you.
Ms. Palmieri?
I have no follow-up. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Mr. Hernandez, just give us a few minutes.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
So I think we've captured some of the picture, the background with the prior incarcerations. He's been more unsuccessful in supervision than he's been successful. He's gone this period of incarceration without any disciplinary issues, and has worked as a barber. He's completed programming. I wish Tier 2 could have been Tier 4 for him. But at least he did complete that, and he got excellent on his evaluation for that program. So that's encouraging. And he seems to have some sort of breakthrough of wanting more for himself and his life, and in terms of understanding the downward spiral of drug addiction, and that through other means, recovery and therapy, he can potentially get at the issues that have been driving 23 years worth of substance use and criminal activity. So those are positives. He is not eligible for release until the middle of September. And we are looking at then about a year and a half of discretionary parole supervision before he would begin 5 years of probation. I would be willing to support discretionary parole for Mr. Hernandez based on some of the change that we're hearing, that we're seeing through his efforts during this incarceration. I do recognize he still scores high for his risk to reoffend. And it does sound like he wants more for himself, and that motivation can take him far with the support of parole and probation to get his life together. So that's where I am. Ms. Barry?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So in a review of Mr. Hernandez's criminal history, it really is indicative of a person who struggles with substance abuse. I don't see very much violence in here like we do see with some other people who come before us for discretionary parole. And also, although yes, he does rate out high in terms of the likelihood of this, at least we have some comfort in knowing that while we don't appreciate any kind of crimes, we can understand that, you know, his are less likely to be a violent crime to support his habit, hopefully. And for many of the reasons that you stated, I really did listen to your conversation with him. And I really do think that Mr. Hernandez does want to change. He wants to do better. He wants to be successful. And maybe that's the driving force that he needs to actually go out and do something different than he did the last time. So I too would support his discretionary parole. I'm hoping that he will utilize his parole officer as a resource. I know I have notes here that he struggled extensively when he was out there before under supervision on parole. But hopefully this is a chance that he needs to really, you know, make better decisions. So.
Ms. Palmieri. Yeah, I agree with all that's said. I think I felt like it was a good conversation, a good question and answer time with Mr. Hernandez. I thought the fact that he came forward with a letter sort of outlining his thoughts and how he's doing was helpful to have in advance. To kind of be able to go back through his file and look at where he has been and where he sees himself going now. Obviously, he knows how to live sober. He needs to, as been pointed out, address those triggers and the stress that lead to his relapse. So he is getting older. I hear offender change, and I will also be willing to give him the opportunity.
That's exciting. I have halfway house and no co-defendant. Is that anything else?
That's all I have.
Okay. All right, Mr. Hernandez. In the matter of Robert Hernandez, inmate number 252259, there was a motion to grant parole on or after your earliest eligibility date of September 13, 2025, with the following conditions. You're to be placed in a halfway house and you're to have no contact with your co-defendant, Kevin Lusk. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Congratulations, Mr. Hernandez. It's not until
Thank you very
September.
much.
So, you know, mind your P's and Q's and go out and do good thing.
Thank you very much, ladies.
This concludes the hearing for Robert Hernandez, number 252259. All right, you're all set. Congratulations, Mr. Hernandez.
Thank you, ladies.
Yep, have a good day.
Appreciate that. I won't let y'all down, trust me.
Don't let
I will not
yourself
let that
down,
down.
sir.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Myself, I won't let y'all down. Thank you for this opportunity.